Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Community Unitarian Universalist Church here in Plano, Texas. My name is Reverend Dr. Aija Duelm. I am the minister of this congregation. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm so glad to see you here this morning. Glad that you're joining us here in person, or if you're joining us online, welcome. I will say this is not an ordinary time. We are still reckoning with the shock of the election results. The whole world is still grappling with the results. And I hear you. It is heartbreaking to know that people have voted against democracy in this country. So this morning we come here together to figure out what this means to us, who believe in democracy as a just way of caring for one another and this country. What will be our work in this coming future as we continue to live our values and our mission? Because we know that our path is love. Our path is love and justice, and we know that even though hate is powerful, love is more powerful. Only love can build up, restore, and heal. As we gather here to support one another, we know that our work just got bigger and also much more needed. We will be needed to offer support to those who will experience pain and difficulties under this new regime. We will be needed not just to alleviate the suffering, but also to engage in resistance, in thoughtful and wise resistance together with our true allies. This is not the first time such work has to be done. We do not have to reinvent the wheel. There are leaders and activists who've done this work before, who offer us their wisdom, their examples, and these leaders are the giants who has showed us the light and guided people towards freedom. As we prepare ourselves for this work, we rest on their shoulders and remind ourselves that we gotta keep working. Wherever you are on your journey, I'm glad you are here. In 1912, the Reverend Egbert Ethelred Brown, an early Black Unitarian minister, said these words: "As we face a troubled and puzzled world, we too are troubled and puzzled. As our fond dreams remain unrealized and our bright hopes of yesterday wither in the bitter disappointments of today, our courage fails, our spirits droop, our faith trembles, and frustrated we bow our heads in despair. Nevertheless, we come to this hour of worship in this sacred place. And as we seek to recommit ourselves to peace in our time, may we first be at peace with ourselves and one another. May we know that without love, there will never be peace. Teach us, therefore, to love." Come, let us worship together. Many of us are still grieving the results of this election. It shocked us and shocked the world too. They hope that the United States is a liberal and future-looking nation and would certainly choose progress, went dim. Because this time around, people knew what they were choosing, and they chose it anyways. The popular vote said that the people do not want democracy, they do not care for human rights and dignity, and they want to live with fear under an oppressive regime. So we grieve. Not just the lost vote, but the disappointment in our fellow Americans, in ourselves. And we grieve our lost dreams and hope for our future that now looks disastrous and horrifying. Some of us will need more time than others to grieve, and there is no set recipe for the amount of time that it will take to process this enormous and heavy grief. I'm still grieving. Every bone in my body is horrified for what is to come, to our neighbors here and abroad, for all who are about to be deported through the promised largest deportations in our history, for all who are LGBTQ, for all who are in need of abortion, for all who will need health care but will not be able to afford it, for people in Ukraine and in Gaza and in other parts of the world who face violent conflict and war crimes, and for us, for all who are liberal in our values and our beliefs. We need to take our time to sit with this weight. We came together on Wednesday after the election to sit with one another and the broken ceramic shards that are now on the altar. We prayed for peace last Sunday together with the SICE Center, and today we joined in the ritual for broken times today to allow our hearts to grieve. We will take our time to grieve, and then we will come together and figure out how to keep walking, how to keep living our values and to work for justice and love in this new climate of hate. As Rebecca Solnit says, they would like to see us afraid and stop doing our work, but we are not going to let them. We will figure out ways to keep going, keep walking, keep praying, and keep working for justice. Because now more than ever, communities like ours will be needed to alleviate the suffering and pain that will be created under this new regime. We will be needed to provide safe sanctuary, a space for respite from the turmoil. We will be needed to join in resistance and speak the truth about the abuses and destruction of lives and communities. And we will need your support for this church, financial and with your skills and talents and compassion, so that we can be all this. So today we ground ourselves in our faith, just as people who lived through oppressive regimes kept their faith alive. We will remind one another who we are, what we value, and what is important to us. Our faith teaches that love is more powerful than hate, that only love restores, builds up, and heals, and we will not let this love die. We will hold close those who are our true partners in this work. True partners who share our values, our commitments, and who will not give us up when the going gets difficult, but we'll keep holding love at the center of who we are. We will look at those who have done this kind of work before and build on their knowledge and wisdom as we discern our next steps. When I named the topic for this Sunday, I used a portion of a phrase, standing on the shoulders of giants. It is a metaphor that first appeared in the 12th century and is attributed to a French philosopher, Bernard of Chartres, and I'm not French, so that pronunciation might be very wrong. But its most familiar and popular expression occurs in 1675 letter that was written by Isaac Newton, and he wrote it to his rival Hooke. This is what he said: "If I have seen further than others, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants." And what he meant, using the understanding gained by major thinkers who have gone before in order to make intellectual progress. You see, Newton believed that knowledge builds upon itself incrementally, improving on existing ideas until the cumulative adds up to revolutionary, something new. From a young age, he kept a commonplace book, a gift from his father, in which he copied passages from books that he read, and then he supplemented those quotes with extensive notes of his own, thus transforming existing knowledge into original ideas. He named this book Waste Book, a testament of usefulness of useless knowledge. Well, it turned out that this book was very useful to Newton in his rivalry with Hooke. Hooke not only dismissed Newton's ideas, but also had claimed having invented a smaller and more powerful telescope than Newton had done, and asserted that he had discovered what we know as diffraction, the way light bends around a sharp edge. But Newton remembered having read about diffraction experiments by a French Jesuit theologist, who built upon even much earlier ideas by a Balinese mathematician, and that was long before Hooke's invention. History shows Newton was right and Hooke was wrong. This recognition that incremental character of knowledge is a thing, it was radical at that time, Newton's time. But today we know that we build on ideas and discoveries of those who came before us. We learn from those who have walked similar journeys, and left us some wisdom and their example. So we are not the first to face an oppressive regime. We recall Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a German pastor, theologian, ecumenist, and peace activist who resisted the Nazi regime. Nelson Mandela, a South African anti-apartheid activist and politician. Alexei Navalny, a Russian opposition leader. Peruvian priest Gustavo Gutierrez, who gave birth to a liberation theology as a response to his experience of more than half of the Latin American population living in extreme poverty. Not just poverty, extreme. And Martin Luther King Jr., civil rights activist. And then our very own Unitarian Universalist Service Committee that Ann Smith was talking about earlier. It began in 1939, Unitarian Service Committee, was organized to help people escape Nazi occupation and then provide humanitarian aid after the war was over. That's when Universalists also formed a committee and joined in. And they still continue to provide humanitarian aid. They provide legal resources and help to support the rights of indigenous people, of land activists, people in Burma and other places. These leaders and many others show us that it is possible to keep going even when circumstances are difficult. They offer us a wealth of wisdom and encouragement in how to keep our flame burning and our path of love lit. We will rise up on their shoulders, on the shoulders of these giants, and we will continue our work. Rebecca Solnit says there is no alternative to persevering, and that does not require you to feel good. You can keep walking, whether it's sunny or raining. For now, we will take care of ourselves so that we can rise up and do the work. We will keep working, keep praying, keep singing. And I know we can do this.